This is the third and final part of my Fighting Games Are Underrated series. If you want to see part 1 where we talk about the different types of fighting games, or part 2 where we talk about fighting game characters, both will have a link in the description.
Anti-air, and then dashes into the fireball. In the front, he got him! He spends the critical arc! And Joe, he's got it.
Is going to advance!
No, he got it just at the end, and L.I. Joe takes it. He lives in the tournament. Lone American representative takes out Aina from Japan.
You know what really sucks? When you're going off in a multiplayer game. You're hitting all your shots, you have great positioning, you are killing it, but your team isn't.
We lost?
One of my favorite things about fighting games is that that's not really an issue. It's just you and the other person, the better player comes out on top. No Jets peeking dumb angles, no Yasuo's running it down mid, and most importantly,
No Johns.
because of how many moving pieces are in games like COD or League, most of which are out of your control, sometimes it's hard to even know why you lost a game. But since fighting games are one-on-one, it's pretty easy to look at losses and see what went wrong. If you watch a replay and notice that you lost most of your life to jump-in combos, you know you need to work on your anti-airs. There are even some fighting games that let you jump into a replay and see what you could have done better in a tough situation.
Oh, I could have air blocked it. What about 6P? Oh, what about DP? Oh, that was my answer.
In other competitive games where you can lose even if you played perfectly, losing can sometimes just feel like a waste of time. Like, what is there to improve on in a match where you dropped 50 but still lost? Again, not a problem in fighting games. There's always something to improve on unless the gap in skill is so wide that either player literally doesn't get to play. I'm much more inclined to hit the lab and find counters for something that I found oppressive after a loss than a win. And with the combination of the internet and fighting games becoming more accessible with things like in-game frame data, improving your game has never been easier. On the other side of the coin, winning in fighting games is also more rewarding than in any other genre, partly because of how much control you have over your character. Anyone can point a gun in the general direction of an enemy, spray, and get a lucky kill. But here, every move needs to be delivered with a purpose. To me, fighting games start to get really fun once you stop mashing and really start to think about why you're using the moves you are. The mental warfare and mind games are such an underrated and crucial part of fighting games that I don't think casual viewers really get, which is understandable because sick combos and flashy moves are what the eye sees, but this is what really separates the pros from the rest of us. Look at this clip.
Great jump out of the corner from Phenom at just the right time. Here we go, command throw. Another command throw.
Boy. I feel like this is something
Another
Phenom
command
loves to
throw.
do. The fourth one, you never know.
Yes, there it is, the fourth one. He's done it. He's definitely done that to Daigo before.
So let's dissect what happened here. Daigo, who is arguably the LeBron of Street Fighter, got command grabbed 5 times in a row. And if you don't know why that's a big deal, it's because all he would have had to do was jump once out of the first 4 command grabs and he would have been rewarded with big damage. But if he guessed wrong and Phenom anticipated the jump, then Daigo gets hit with big damage. This is the classic non-mix-up mix-up. With every throw Phenom lands here, it makes less and less sense for him to do another one since it's so easily punishable. But both players know this and he uses this to his advantage, winning the round. Top tier competitive esports.
All on the line. Here we go. Make some noise, ladies and gentlemen. Grand finals. And you already know, if you don't know the rules, now you will know. Goichi has to win 2 sets coming from the losers in order to beat Sonic Fox. Sonic Fox, however, needs to win 1. So here we go. Oh, that was so loud. Talk to me. That was music to my earlobes. The people. Okay, here we go. Bandana for the family.
And that brings us to the hype section of the video. Whether you're playing or watching, fighters are easily the most hyped video games to take part in. You don't have to know anything about Street Fighter to understand how insane the atmosphere in the Daigo Parry video is. If you watch a professional match of Rainbow Six or Valorant, you're essentially watching 10 people do whatever the opposite of speedrunning is, checking every nook and cranny of the map until someone gets caught out. But fighting game esports are all action all the time. Even the extremely rare occurrence of 2 players doing absolutely nothing is still hype.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
From the playing perspective, there's very few gamer dopamine hits like completely downloading someone and perfectly predicting their moves, or finally hitting that combo you've been practicing in a real match. Lately, it seems like games are also adding a variety of mechanics that are almost purely meant to get people going in the middle of a match. Things like X-ray moves, tech and slow-mo, and drive impact collisions all serve as an oh shit moment and can momentarily spike overall investment in a game. Like we talked about in the last video, as new games and DLC gets revealed and released, there's an entire hype scene around seeing what characters make it into the game.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
Even for characters that you don't have any interest in playing, it's really cool to see what kind of visual and gameplay redesigns everyone goes through. If you had told people in 2012 that Guile would have a 40-hit combo in Street Fighter V that wasn't a super, I'm sure they would have told you to go home and be a family man. And yet, here we are. Seriously, go look at how many views an average character reveal trailer has for just about any fighting game. The level of hype and investment that these trailers generate very clearly goes beyond people that actually play fighting games. I'd be doing a disservice to the entire genre not to bring up the music created for these games. When you think of good video game music, there's music that's good for video games, and video game music that's just good. And fighting games tend to have soundtracks that fall in the second category. Like, I will actively choose to bump the Third Strike soundtrack on my way to work, and I'd bet every penny in my bank account that for every video I've created, fighting game music has been playing in the background during some part of the process. You've got character themes that fully capture personalities and stage themes that perfectly match environments, all while getting you in just the right mood to... I really like it when games go all out on one type of music, like the heavy metal in Killer Instinct or the hip-hop centered Street Fighter 6. I hate this character, but I gotta admit they popped off with Blanca's theme. This shit'll make a Catholic nun wanna shake some ass. Announcers also play a huge part in setting the mood for a match, and they do not get the love they deserve. I mean, listen to this.
Get ready for the next battle. Tekken 8. New challenger. Come and get some. I dare you. Marshall. Love.
I don't even play Tekken like that, and the way this dude has me ready to main every character they announced for Tekken 8 is crazy. And of course, you have the iconic
Finish him.
Imagine how much lamer fatalities will be without this. Actually, I'm gonna edit that in so you don't have to imagine it. It just doesn't hit the same, does it? You may have noticed that over the course of the series, I've been talking a lot about learning and knowledge checks and not a lot about sick combos and the required mechanical skills to perform them. And that's because honestly, with enough time in the training room, the execution barrier in fighting games generally isn't too much to overcome unless you're playing King of Fighters. And a lot of newer fighting games are even implementing simplified control options. Like we talked about earlier, fighting games are much more about mind games and analyzing someone's patterns and utilizing all of your tools effectively. This was initially going to be the final part in a 4-part series, but this video exists 10 times over and I don't want to make you guys wait another 4 months for it, so we're kinda gonna speedrun it at the end of this one. I'm gonna preface all of this by saying that there is no right way to learn a fighting game, this is just what works for me. With that being said, I thought it would be fun to actually learn a specific game for this part of the video, and kinda do a practice what you preach thing. I chose to learn Strive because I played the beta and loved it, but I never really got around to playing the game, and this just seemed like the perfect excuse. Also, before we get started, I want to talk about a problem that's pretty unique to fighting games. When you buy almost any fighting game at launch, you're basically paying more money for an inferior version of the game. It's inevitable that as more DLC gets released, there will be an arcade, deluxe, or ultimate version of the game somewhere down the line that will be cheaper and have more content. So why bother getting them at launch? Getting in early allows you to learn and grow with the community of that game. This drastically lowers your chances of getting bodied versus hopping in when the game's been out for a while, especially when player counts drop and the only people left playing have dozens, maybe hundreds of hours of playtime over you. Without even accounting for player skill, the process of learning a game is way more approachable when it's in its infancy. Street Fighter V launched with 16 characters, and after years of updates, now there are 45. So imagine how much easier it is to learn matchups of the original roster and only have to learn new ones as characters get released, than trying to learn all 45 matchups at the same time. Fighting games also tend to die out rather quickly, so the best experience for most people will be right when a game comes out. Just keep that in mind when you're thinking about the pros and cons of paying full price for an upcoming game. Step 1. Play the tutorial. This seems obvious, but I feel like a lot of people go straight into arcade or trials instead of learning the basics of a game. Even if you're a vet, the tutorial will teach you all the game-specific mechanics that you're unfamiliar with at this point. Strive's tutorial is actually really good and explained everything fairly simply. It even goes as far as to teach you counters for every character's main game plan. Step 2, pick a character. I made a whole video about this, so I'm not going to get into specifics again, but I chose Giovanna for this one. She's who I played in the demo, and I've liked her design since the minute I saw her. She's also pretty simple, which I think is beneficial when you're learning a new game. I'm also interested in learning Happy Chaos, Bridget, and Baiken for personal reasons, but they all seem like more advanced characters that would have made the beginning stages of learning Strive a little more difficult. Don't let that discourage you from picking a tougher character at the start though. Like we talked about in the last video, play whoever you want. Step 3, character trials. I might get some shit for this because a lot of stuff in character trials isn't necessarily practical or optimal, but I don't really do these to learn combos. I use them more so to get a feel for a character. I find the structure of trials more beneficial when I'm learning combo routes and links than when I'm aimlessly just trying moves out in the training room. Strive doesn't really have a dedicated trials mode, instead leaving that in the player's hands. You can upload and download custom combos that other people have made, and I like this on one hand, but I wish the devs themselves had made 5 or 6 combos for each character along with this. It's kind of a jungle looking for practical combos and tech with the system they have now, but I remembered some of the combos from the beta, so I didn't have to dig too deep for this one. Step 4, lab and play against low-level computers. Experiment with the stuff you learned in trials and try to come up with your own combos. The training room is going to be your best friend when you're trying to get those combos down so you can actually land them when it matters, but it's not the same as actually playing against a moving opponent, and this is where playing against the computer comes in. Fighting computers still isn't quite the same as playing an actual person, but practicing whiff punishes and spacing can't really be organically done in the training room. This is just to get your feet wet when it comes to real combat. Step 5, play people or do some more single player content. Back when I was playing Mortal Kombat 11, I really enjoyed farming the towers for unlockables, and I don't think I ever actually played any PvP. So don't feel like you have to play against people to have fun in fighting games. If you do choose to hop online, don't worry about winning or losing. Like I said, going from fighting bots to real people isn't a direct translation, so there's gonna be an adjusting period and you probably will get bodied. Honestly, you should fully anticipate getting waxed, especially if you're trying to get into a game that's been out for a while, but just watch your replays and see where you can improve. Even if you spent 10 hours practicing combos and going through arcade mode, you won't have any real matchup knowledge. Like this. I didn't know what to do about this, but as the match went on, I learned that he could only shoot twice before reloading, and that was my opening. And boom! Just like that, you're a whole ass fighting game player. Again, I can't stress enough not to worry about being the highest ranked player on the leaderboard or anything like that. You're gonna suck at first, and that's okay. I'm ass at most of the games I've had as background footage. Just play the game however you think is fun, enjoy the process, and you'll get better. Well, that's the wrapping and bow on my Fighting Games Are Underrated series. It only took me a year and a half to make 3 videos, but we got there in the end. If you've enjoyed this video or this series, don't forget to leave a like so it gets recommended to more people. And if you really enjoyed it, you can sub to the channel for more gaming content like this. Thanks for sticking around until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.